Thank you. And before we open to questions, if any of you are really interested in your state of doing transparency, ALEC does have a model bill. Jonathan will wave his hand in the back there. Jonathan's our great task force chair for the Tax and Fiscal Committee, and he can give you extra information. Sandra's available with Americans for Tax Reform. Contact your state policy group in your state, and we have a list there, or stop at the booth out here for more information on that. And then this session is being taped, so it will be on the ALEC website in a few weeks if you want to go back and refer to anything on this website. But again, I can't stress enough how much the voters want transparency, your Tea Party groups want transparency, you want transparency, and this is a way really that I see how we can downsize government. In many of your states, starting January 1st, there will be a free market, a libertarian or a conservative investigative journalist there that you can pass information on and also get information out on your side. So with that, we're open to questions, and I guess we have mics that we're passing around. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and the mic will come to you. What are your questions? And if you address it to us, one of the panelists or all three? From the great state of Oregon. Who won?
Good morning, Bob. Gene Wisnett, State Rep, Oregon. I sponsored a bill with two Democrats and Republican, House Bill 2500 that we passed this last session for zero-cost transparency bill. One thing I would suggest to people, and I've heard some of the comments this morning, we put in our bill a bipartisan and a private-public committee that will be monitoring that website and suggesting changes and updates. You might want to consider that.
Is this on? Yeah. It's, Ralph Watts, Iowa House. I had a question maybe for Bob or any of the others that might be able to respond. One of the concerns I have is that a lot of state agencies only have about a third of their funds that they use and they spend that go through the appropriations process. A lot of it comes in through fees and taxes and whatever. Have you done anything to make those, the historical value of those taxes and fees more transparent in this whole process? Because obviously they're spending what they're taking in, but they aren't really saying a lot of times where the money's coming from other than the appropriations process, and it's not together in one place. Is any state really dealing with that in a big way?
I don't have which states specifically. Most of the states have started out with the general fund. Some states have done all funds. But right now, the biggest challenge you're having in your state is the non-general state fund, the federal funds, all these other funds, because the legislature, in some cases, the governor's office, are using these other funds for different reasons. And again, we urge transparency of all funds, because it's interesting when you hear, one of the difficulties I had, when I was a young kid, I used to audit at the Pentagon and Post Office for the GAO. But nothing in that experience, on the Pentagon and Post Office, which a lot of people think are pretty bad, prepared me for the state of Washington and its lack of accountability on the budget. That you don't see balance sheets, you don't see trends, you don't see actual numbers. And that's where transparency will help, because many times legislators who are on the budget committee, you know, one of the things our task force is urging, a model bill, 72-hour timeout before you vote on the budget. But the bill comes out and says, well, we don't have time, you know, trust us, this is the best thing, you got to pass it right now. You know, don't read the bill, vote for it now. So the more you can put on, and putting all funds on, I think is essential.
Let me just take that just in a little different direction. You know, one of the challenges we have in Minnesota, and I think there's a lot of states in this situation, is that our expenditures are fixed, but our revenues are not fixed, and so we all are in all these deficits and things like that. We just had recently, and this might be an idea for folks, the governor just came out of Minnesota, Governor Pawlenty just came out with an idea that essentially says, it's a constitutional amendment, that we cannot spend more than we spent the year before because we don't know what revenues are coming in. Any additional dollars are categorized for either tax relief or rainy day funds or something along those lines, which allows us to better align the expenditures and the revenues because of that situation where one is fixed and one is not. And so, you know, that might be something that we look at down the road, but I think that's another challenge with transparency, is that you can be transparent in the fixed part of the expenditures, but we aren't always transparent in what's coming in either. And so we need to be transparent on both sides of that ledger.
Other questions?
Might I address this also?
Yes, absolutely.
That's okay. I wanted to also just explain to you that we did actually include revenue data within our bill as well. We do have issues with that still, with the implementation of all of it. We do have a great new member of our joint budget committee that some of you may know, Representative Kent Lambert. Now, Kent has been great, and even he complains about the website to the governor's staff, because even as a joint budget committee member, he has had many difficulties and problems and just trying to get access to information that even he needs as a joint budget committee member. So as he pulls this information out, he's been great about getting it, all of the information that he obtains out to all of the House and Senate Republican members, as well as our Democrat colleagues too. But it should be implemented within the bill.
Let me give you a suggested assignment when you go back to your states. Get a hold of your state revenue office, treasurer, whoever it is, and ask them for a list of all the taxes and fees. You won't believe it. They can't come up with it. Question, Mike.
Pete Illoway from Wyoming. On the Illinois Independent website, how many hits do you get? I mean, people are saying that the general public is interested in it. Are they really?
We launched our website on Wednesday. We've gotten about 1,000 hits so far. You can help us make it 1,001. Wonderful. But we're expecting quite a few more. We've just in the last 24 hours got a lot of radio hits, TV hits, and they're giving out the website address. And I can absolutely promise you that we will let folks know how many people are visiting the sites, how long they're spending on the site, how many searches they're doing, what are they finding, and what are they finding interesting.
Talmadge Heflin, Texas Public Policy Foundation. I heard it mentioned in another workshop earlier this week that it's not so much the public's interest, but it's the elected officials knowing that the information is available. It's what makes it so valuable. And the public knows when they do get interested, they can go and get it. To the previous question about, knowing where the money is spent, our controller in Texas issues every warrant for every penny that is spent. So her website has all expenditures. Now, it has its downside in that it's not as searchable as it needs to be. For instance, if you want to know how many cars are purchased by the state of Texas, you have to go to each individual agency. She is currently working on a program that is realigning the accounting process. It is going to be a multi-year process, but when she gets through with that, or a treasurer, whoever issues the checks, because more than likely they will issue every check for every penny the state spends.